Hey everybody, welcome back to our ThinkScript class. My name is Mike Fairbourn. Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good day in the markets as well. I want to talk today about combining really kind of a price type indication on the chart with an indicator for a potential confirm and just tying that all into one. The idea kind of came to me as I was looking at some of the classes we've taught previously, but I have yet to really kind of combine aspects of a price move with I would say a change in price. We'll talk about this in more detail, but confirmed with an indicator. I think it could be actually quite an interesting area to look at, in terms of really improving the possible strength of an indication. So look forward to going through that with you all today. Just taking a look at the chat here. Good to be back with you. We got Robert Boucher. We've got John, the Noble Savage. We've got Ocean Life of the Fast Lane. Michael, David, great to have you guys on board. Any questions, comments you have, throw those in the chat so that we can address those for you. I'm joined in the chat, by the way, by a good friend of mine that I have spent plenty of time with and have learned from. Appreciated that time. His name is James Boyd. You might have heard of him before. If you're with any of our classes, you've heard of James Boyd. See him in the chat as JB. Appreciate James being here to help out as well, folks. But a couple of things to look at too. I want to take a look at some of the new indicators that I think might be more relevant to what we do in this class and some of the classes that I teach. Maybe some different ways to use those too. So we've got a few different things packed together. I want to thank Barb for assisting last week in teaching the class. But having said that, hello to you, Kenneth, Amy, Robert, and all who are with us today. Welcome all. All right, well, let's do this. Let's dive into some of our disclosures to get going here. Now, options carry a high level of risk. They're not suitable for all investors. Information here is for general information purposes only. Now, Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research, by itself. Paper money software applications for education purposes only. Backtesting results presented are hypothetical, and there's no guarantee that the same strategy implemented today would produce similar results at a later date. Now, investing does involve risk, including loss of principal, and past performance of any security or strategy does not guarantee future results or success. Having said that, let's just take a look at some of the steps to scripting that we review each and every week. We identify a goal in mind. Today I was looking at really discussing, actually throughout this week, I was looking at, the concepts of price data, understanding price changes at the very basic level, open, high, low, and close. What are some indications we get there? We're going to dive into that. But then I tied that in to an indicator. Now, both of those goals actually can be met pretty easily. There are some coding issues that we'll go through. We'll look at the code. We want to talk about those steps. We'll apply the thinkScript tools in the form of a scan. We'll talk about the custom script, and we'll share that script as well within the class. All right, well, here we go. Let's take a look at what we've got over here. I'll just pull this up, and we'll see what we've got in terms of the market. Well, if you've been following the markets today, it's a little bit of a dip in the markets, as you could see right there. Coming off the top, we really did kind of test an area of resistance up here for a while, right? We kind of broken above it for a day or two, broke down, broke above, broke down. Did see some numbers in the consumer sentiment numbers to dip pretty dramatically today. Send a tweet out on that. By the way, you can follow James and I on X. My handle is Mike Fairbourn CS. You follow James Boyd at James Boyd CS as well. But where we do post, financially related content there, kind of keep you guys current with up to date, in many cases up to date, X posts there on X, I should say. Okay, that's a pretty big dip there. Is one thing that we talked about just over the past couple of weeks, going back. Oops, sorry about that. The past couple of weeks. There we go. Okay. All I wanted was my drawing tools, and the whole screen blanks out. Okay. So look over here with me. Remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about divergences, and we had combining a couple of divergences. This was kind of an interesting one. This was kind of a double negative divergence. Here was a high over here and a high here, and then notice with prices made a new high, and they made another new high again. But to illustrate using red down here, notice over here we had a lower high and then another lower high. And now, we're clearly getting, even to this point today, that is a lower low than this low. but yet look at price action relative to that low right there. We're not anywhere near that level, but just the rate of change, really, looking at percentage changes on that RSI, it's pretty big, isn't it? So we had talked about some weakness. Well, I think I talked about that in my markets and sectors class. But anyways, I thought it would be relevant to some of the indicators that we'd looked at and some of the scanning tools that we'd taken a look at previously. Now, there are a number of stocks out there that had been doing this in the S&P 500 index. And by the way, there were a number of stocks in the S&P 500 specifically that weren't doing that. That was our double divergence indicator. See, these are positive divergences that we talked about previously. This custom expression, oh, okay. Let me knock one of these out. You're going to get that if you have too many codes up, boom, boom. It might give us a 500, and I think it will. You can actually get a couple columns. So I could tell you at least for sure we could get 1,000 in here, 1,000 indications. But this double divergence, as you recall, we talked about this previously. And I'll share this in the chat if you guys want it, if you haven't seen it before. But this was really an RSI and a MACD. Remember, it was our main line, or referred to as our value line MACD. We were looking at it over a set period of time. We really kind of used that fold formula, or command, really. And we looked and said, hey, over a period of time, going back, in this case, it was 22 bars. We had between 5 and 22, we had a number of different hits on it saying, hey, there's a divergence in there. And in this case, these were positive divergences. My point is that not everything is negative. Those aren't even loading up yet. But look at all the positive ones still we're getting over a period of time, over the last month. We're getting several in here that we're doing quite well. Now, what's interesting is many of these companies are kind of in the value/income type related group. And so there could be a sort of switch coming in there. Not all of them, but you can see, look at some of these. PG&E, you got Target, you got Zimmer. I don't know if that'll be a double divergence or not, but Pepsi. You're seeing some of these names, ConAgra, and on down the line. Anyhow, let's go ahead and move out of that. That was just kind of a market overview. There are some that are showing a positive divergence, like I said, on 2 indicators. So in other words, as prices aren't going as high, the indicators are going higher, showing that strength could be building. Okay, so that was just kind of a look into the past last couple of weeks, but it's interesting that we're seeing this now, and we do have maybe some ThinkScript to kind of help break that down a little bit and see where there is positive divergence as opposed to negative divergence. Okay, well, with that, I did want to talk about a couple of new indicators that we have that might be relevant to what we discuss in this class as well. In fact, this 1 week, remember we had a script over here. I'm just going to move this over here. In fact, maybe it was the squeeze bars we talked the prior week. In fact, let me just do, since I said I would share this, sorry, I didn't mean to jump off that. I think many of you might have it. You can watch it. There is a class on that as well, but I'm just going to throw that in the chat real quick for you right there. Now, keep in mind that any ThinkScript is not guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy because it does rely on the data that's coming through. If we have good data, which we do, but if there was something that was off, then obviously the ThinkScript itself would be off too. Okay, so a little side note there, but let's do this. I'm going to knock out a couple of these. There are squeeze bars. I'm going to take out the double divergence for now, and let's just take it off. So we got to look at this. Okay, so I've got over here this 1 week percent, and if you click on it, yeah, we have a code for it right here. It's been around for a while. I did not build this, but it does look back over the last 1 week. There's a 5-day look back period right there. From whatever day you're looking at, it looks back over that time frame, 5 days, and it lists this information here for us, and it just says, hey, what have been the percentage changes on that stock over that period of time, looking at stock specifically? Well, we don't need that anymore. In fact, if you do go up top now and you just go to PCT percent, there you go. Well, so there are some in here, there's a 5-day, the same one we're looking at. It's now, you don't need a ThinkScript for it. It's part of just a, you could say a custom script within ThinkScript. Let's go ahead and pull that up right now. And then you can see you've got it right there. So it's a little bit different. The coding's slightly different. You can have different coding that accomplishes effectively the same thing, which this does. But just to let you know, That's in here, which is really quite nice because I've talked to a few of you before. I think I've talked to David. I talked to definitely Robert about this. And many of you know that it can be, there are limitations to how many, let's say codes are available here for us to use, or just open, you could say columns to use. This really gets rid of all these ThinkScripts that we had to build, and now you just have them there yourself. So we don't necessarily need this one anymore. In fact, we could reuse it. And you'll notice up top, if I go up top here, I just start typing in 1. So, and I have more than these. I've got like 3 and like a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month. There are a few of these in here that I could just take out now. Notice these are the custom ones, and I can build over this and use it for additional scripts that we've created here. So it takes it out of the way, and I think that's really quite helpful that they have that down. Okay, so that's something, ties directly in. It's a new sort of a indicator here that ties directly into what we do with ThinkScript a lot. Another one too is we do look at charts pretty frequently. And if I were to go up here and just pull up Tesla, for example, we'll go to a little bit longer term chart. In fact, let's go to a 2-year daily chart. Now, it's interesting as we look at Tesla here, got some indicators down below. We do know that we can scroll in and we can take a look. And by the way, I'm just looking at that time frame. Is it really kind of a long, if you could see it right there. Although I don't think I'd seen this before too well. That's like a long cup and handle, right? Which, by the way, it did have an interesting follow through. Now, we kind of lose context though, because we have a 2-year chart pulled up here, and we're not seeing 2 years of chart data. But if we wanted to have that reference behind the scenes, we can now do that with this new indicator or indication. We just want to go into our wheel up top here. We want to go to the time axis right there. And we have this show chart navigator. If you haven't seen it yet, I know it's been out for about 10 days. I really haven't had a class to teach it in yet, but I'll try to keep you guys apprised of these when I do see them pop out as well. But just show chart navigator right here. Click on the check in that box right there. Click down below, and you'll notice down below, it gives us one additional area down here to take a look at. And you can see that this shaded area, I've got kind of both sides lined up right there. And that correlates with exactly what we're seeing on our screen over here. So this correlates to this area, and this correlates to over here. And so in other words, we're seeing this whole price range in this shaded area right there. Okay. So what we're seeing, whatever I zoomed in on, that's what you're seeing down below. That is the shaded area. Okay. So what happens after our cup and handle? Well, you can actually see it too, and you can actually see what happens before, but it's a cool little reference. I mean, I still think, there could certainly be some times where we'd want to use this, but we could say, hey, what was price data doing before the cup and handle? Okay, we kind of, yeah, it had been a downward trend to a degree. There's your cup and handle range, and then what happens after the cup and handle? Well, it looks like we had a very nice price pattern follow through to the upper end of that range right there. And I think we had a full price pattern target hit. Yeah, in fact, let me just do this real quick and see one thing. Yeah, we did actually. We had a good price target hit. I'm gonna have to kind of just bend my head down here just a little bit, but just curious now if we hit it. It looks like we obviously did, but you take the high here and you draw it down to this low, which is about, okay, so that's about 40, oh, I'm sorry, about 122 points. Let me just do this again. I'm gonna try this. Let's do that one more time. Okay, cool. Let's do this. I'm gonna go down here. Thank you, production team. And my head's not on a swivel like it always is. About 120 points. And so what we do is we take the price pattern. I'm just interested in this because these are kind of good to train your eyes on, because you can get these long-term cup and handles. In fact, let me draw it here in the context now of the bigger move that I was able to see with the navigator down below. Okay, giving us some insight. We take this range here from below to high, and then on the breakout, we simply add in that same range. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here, but I think I can do a pretty good job of it. And I think our target was probably about right there. Beautiful. Cup and handle target reached. That was a pretty good one, but it's a longer term one. It's almost a weekly pattern. But this is so cool down here to have this as sort of a context around a bigger price pattern. Quick note too, I'm just going to go into a shorter term time frame, like real short. And this is where I think it is helpful as well, because a lot of times, you're looking at a 30-minute chart and you just want to zoom in on a particular range, whatever it might be. I actually have some overnight data in here, which I normally don't use too often, but on the intraday. But now you can also see, hey, what was going on before. Just a cool little reference to have. Okay, so that is that. I'll go ahead and take that out for now. Oh, let's go ahead and go back to that. And again, that was in our wheel, our little gear up top. We can do with our gear, and we'll go back to our time axis, just take out that show chart navigator. All right. So keeping you guys apprised of a few cool things. Now, the last one I'll say is the font size drawing that would really relate to what we've got here. If I go into the Learning Center here, what I'm actually going to do is show you guys, if we scroll on down in that Learning Center. In fact, what I could do is I'm going to go into, type it right here. It's actually an add label that we've done plenty of previously. And within the add label now, we can extend this out a little bit further, where it does now show the size. It's referred to as font size. It's add label font size. Let me see if I just get to it real quick. Font size. It might just give us an update here. Now, you see, we've got all these different labels. So now we can have font size labels that are a little bit, notice it does actually state new down here too. So we can get these that can be actually quite large, as you see them. And I'll just go into like the script here, but notice the difference here is just right at the end. After the font size dot, X underscore large. Now we can get larger font sizes by putting this add label in. That could be good. Before we were having to expand like the font size of, thinkorswim itself, like completely, substantially bigger. I think release notes. Let me see. Release notes. Oh, add fonts. There it is, right there. So this is part of some of the release notes. I'm just going to scroll down. In fact, it showed it at the bottom, so it's probably down at the bottom, I would assume. Yes, it is, right there. So just giving you a sense of what we can do now within our ThinkScripting for putting in larger font sizes, which I think you guys could find helpful. Large is too large, says John. Okay. Yeah, well, John, would that mean extra large is also too large? Yes, it's huge. Those are big. Those are big. Okay. All right, but that's under education. By the way, I did just show you that you could find new releases coming in there, and you can check those out as well. Just right under the release notes. I'm just under education, Learning Center, bam, bam, and you got it right there. Okay, now let me just do this. I'm going to go ahead and pull up something else here, and we'll dive right into our core discussion now, because I wanted to talk about sort of bridging the gap between some of the price data that we have out there, and that I think many of you guys are familiar with some of the price data. I know you are, I'll kind of, get that price approach down here in just a bit, but I wanted to combine that with an indicator today. And it kind of caught my attention as I was going through here, because although it didn't get a ton of attention, this fractal up top is interesting, right? Because the fractal is tied into the Mandelbrot set. And it's just an indication in nature that you can get reversals. And a lot of technicians have looked at this and they said, hey, the fractal reversal is simply when you get the lows you have two previously higher lows, and you get a reversal that actually has two confirms, and then you get two higher lows that come in after that. Okay, we'd actually built a script. Well, it's chart script that will give an arrow over here once one of these fractals is achieved on any time frame. We looked at a 5-minute, 30, we looked at a monthly chart even. We went as far as we could, and that's kind of a reversal. That's what it looks like. It's fascinating though. It's just looking at the low prices being higher, right? That's what it says. As long as there's higher lows, you have the makings of what's referred to as a fractal reversal, and you guys can take a look at that. Many of you, I think, are familiar with the Mandelbrot set. Which is something that we see in nature and reoccurring, and they're just saying, hey, nature's made of all kinds of, twists and turns, and this could be a reversal in the market. and we said on the weekly chart it could be interesting. That's one. And I use this specifically. Let's get some others that I think you might be familiar with. What about, and something you might even see here too as we look at this. But like we looked at a hold pattern, coming off of an upward trend. We're looking at the possibility of a bull flag formation occurring, which is a very common formation that traders look at for strength to resume potentially to the upside, right? And what they're looking for is a low, 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 low pullback, and then a close above the high of the low day. So if this in fact is our low bar right there, we got a little low right there that came in. It was our lowest point. We're looking for a close that closes just above it. Now that would be referred to as the acronym states, a hold. So it's a close above the high of the low day. So these are just price data points that signify potential changes in direction, right? Reversals, perhaps, price reversals. That's a hold. So we've got fractals. Here's a hold in there. There are a number of indicators, and I've had requests for some that I've got to get to here, not today, not in today's class, but for candlesticks. And candlesticks are these are the very sort of initial early points of a possibility of a change in trend, a reversal. Now, if obviously something like this would be a reversal of an upward trend, but let's say, for example, we're looking at a pullback here in price. I'm just going to throw out one more here for us, but prices are coming down here, and we get a candlestick pattern that looks like this. And then it bounces back, and then it fires back up, and we say that is a hammer pattern, right? That's a hammer pattern. So one concept that I don't think a lot of traders will do is they might not be combining elements of, let's say, for example, price up top here with an indicator. And I think there could be an important thing to capture here if we can combine price with an indicator, confirming it. This, like, for example, is the Parabolic SAR. It is an indicator. All we simply looked at when we did our fractals was, just this. And I had a lot of people stating in some comments, very straightforward comments saying, Mike, we're getting fractals everywhere. And sometimes these fractals were downward trends and they continue to go down and down and down again. But what could be interesting is to take something like a Parabolic SAR, which really requires a lot of indications for a reversal. So let's just say, for example, prices are up, they come back down, we get a fractal coming in right here, a fractal price action, candlestick, hold, whatever we're saying, but then we get a confirm to tie into that. I wanted to use the fractal because I think it's just a step above. Well, let's put it this way. There's more requirements that are being met, maybe a few more levels of confirmation for a fractal, for example. But then we're taking that fractal, and now we're tying it into a Parabolic SAR, which looks a lot like this. It puts little dots on the screen, and then if you hit those dots, it comes back down. It was developed by Wells Wilder in 1978, and as soon as you hit this upper one, it starts to go again. And what it's doing is it's using a moving average, but it's also measuring the rate of change between each one. So it's saying there has to be additional confirmations for the potential for a change in trend. But we're adding that plus the fractal to the Parabolic Stop-and-Reverse indicator. So it's really combining those two into one, saying both could be equally and interestingly strong, but if we can build it on something basically around nature, we might see a fractal reversal, but then the confirmation of the Parabolic SAR, which requires, like I said, a few confirmations. Remember, it's looking at lows. These two lows have to be higher, and these two lows after have to be higher. But then, if I could just add this PSAR into it, we're saying now, okay, now we have enough indications that, the trend is hit, and now we're starting the PSAR off the bottom. You guys with me on that? We're just trying to kind of enhance that. And it just kind of came to me as I was looking through some of these classes and just saying, wow, that could be an important way to potentially tie two together. And so I wanted to do that today. And I want to talk, actually, let's do this first. Let's go ahead and add in, just so everybody knows this. And this is the, let's see, the fractal, upward fractal right there. So we had created this in one class. And I think we just had like a really basic indication with it. But this is what it is. And so you can see these indicators. Let me highlight how this would work. Yeah, we did get one off the bottom here, right there. So on Tesla. So right here. So here's your low, low, low. Let me switch colors here to kind of show you the higher low on this side. Higher low, higher low. When you get that, which is the 5 we just talked about, this arrow will come in at the very end and check it off and indicate that that's what's occurred. Okay, so that's how that can work in our favor. What I wanted to do next, though, is let's take a look at something like that had dropped quite dramatically. This is a look at Electronic Arts, and Electronic Arts had dipped over here, but after its earnings, it actually spiked back up. And it's interesting, you're getting a fractal here. And we could reverse and we could shoot back up. We could see possibly like a pattern over here, like a zigzag. I've got a few to look at today. I'm kind of using what the indicator has shown us here. But I mean, that could be like a little bit of a zigzag. I'm just looking at basically a flag pattern follow through here. But notice over here with me, guys, that there is your higher, 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 and then there's your fractal coming in right there. But within 2 days, that's what we're going to hold this against. It's got to happen within 2 days so we can get it quickly. And you can see, here's our fractal and here's the second day. So actually, I think I got one more in there. So it looks back a couple. So here's your fractal. And then what we could do is we could go back 2 more days. So it would still show, as long as it's got a Parabolic SAR read as of, at least, we'll give it one more bar, but it would show up today for sure. Take a look. Click. Here is the Parabolic SAR. All right, so let's pull this up right now. The standard default that was used by Wells Wilder. Let's click on it. How long has it been going on for? A while. It's already existing. So we're going to have the Parabolic SAR saying there's a positive in here, right? It's a positive indication. Right, let's see, we hit this top, we're starting a change in here, and let's just see what we get. It's indicating that, notice the Parabolic SAR had been red, 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 all the way down until we hit. It's waiting for a few confirmations to get a change in here based upon how that works. We talked about that more in that class. But now that we got it, here you go, and here you go. We got kind of the double. So does that mean just jump in? No, it might mean, hey, put a paper trade in and monitor it. But there are other things we could certainly look at too. See what's going on. I did find it a bit interesting because you are getting some interesting correlations. Say, for example, we don't have too much on here to take a look at. But if we look over here, look at the RSI. It's not to say that we want to forget about what we discussed with the divergences. Look down here with me. See that high right there? This is a positive divergence for sure. Just as a side note, right? Just so we don't forget what we learned. That's making a higher high. That's a positive. And look at prices are making a lower high. So even the RSI indicator is giving us that positive. But I'm really looking at it around combining, two totally different aspects for the strength of a potential price reversal here. Okay, and notice, hey, I threw it out there. I said a zigzag, but what I kind of meant by that was the possibility of a flag pattern follow through. It gives us time to look at it. Some people might say, Mike, you know what? There's a lot that could be gained in terms of this price move up. Maybe I wait for a breakout above here. Maybe we take a look. What JB's talked about previously, I know in a lot of his classes, is, hey, price is getting above the 10-period moving average. I'm just saying, there might be something else behind that 10-period moving average that could be of interest. We did say, there's a divergence with the indicator, but a fractal plus a Parabolic SAR. completely different. Prices, indicator, in that sense, tied together. So let's do that. Let's tie that together. I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm going to do that in the form of a scan, but before I do that, this is the one I've got up here. So it's an upward fractal detector scan combined with the PSAR condition. Okay. And let me just do a quick peek down, see how we're doing in the chat. Yeah. Hey, by the way, to Dragon Rider's point, and let's see. Oh, I guess it's Dragon Rider. It might have been James L. Getting on it fast. Getting on it fast is kind of the key thing, right? These fractals, when they hit, they can be pretty quick. I mean, you get a move down like this, that does look like a reversal. In fact, like we said, I would even say over here, you could actually get, I mean, a fractal requires more, but within that fractal, what we could see, James and everybody, let me make sure I'm reading that question correct, but I think the dashboard, nice look. Okay, cool. Yes, I did do that, but it's very important to be early in this market. And that was my thought. I don't know if you're thinking along the same lines I am, James, but this happens within 2 bars. So we're getting the fractal within 2 bars in a long state of an upward fractal being detected. So it's already, we've got the fractal going, but then behind the scenes, we've got the parabolic SAR going up. What I wanted to kind of show you though, just to break this down even further, is within that fractal, we might have beneath it a K-hold, okay? And we might have, oh gosh, don't forget the L. It's not a K-hold, it's a K-hold. It's an L. It sounds a lot better than a K-hold. Now, over here too, there could be with the K-hold, it could be a candle chart as well. Do you see that? Right there. That could be a doji. It could be a hammer pattern. It could be, you know what this kind of looks like to me? If I just drag over, take a look at this range right there. Folks, that looks morning star-ish to me as well. So with that fractal, we could easily be getting, you know, some really cool indications in there. It could be kind of like a fractal times 2, you know, with the K-holding candle. And then all of a sudden, we'll go ahead and add one more in there, plus our little bonus of the PSAR trend following that's behind that PSAR. Okay, let's do it. Oh, somebody likes take 2 though. Yeah, right. All right, so here we go. The scan, let's go ahead and run this. I'm gonna run this, since you guys are looking at gaming, let's go ahead and just do this on a, let's see, let's go over here now. Let's see, there's our NASDAQ 100. And we're running into some of those areas that might have, you know, just general, maybe a little bit more general liquidity in these companies. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these right now and break them down specifically. But you got 11, I'm sorry, 19. I'm sorry, what did I say, 11? Yeah, 19 out of 100. So it's a rather small percent that we're getting. And you're going to see at different times this indicator show more or less around, you know, how the markets are looking. You know, if you're getting a bull flag pattern, let's say, for example, in the NDX, you might see a few of these, and that could also be quite interesting too. But let's take a look at this ANSYS right up here, ANSS. I'm going to keep everything on. So now we've got everything loaded. We've got the chart that shows our fractal. So you see it. We've actually got our PSAR behind the scenes. Okay, let's take a look at this right now. A lot of stuff going on in here, but they have to line up perfectly together within 2 days in order for this to work. Now take a look at this. This is interesting. Here's this kind of long, I'm just looking at the whole chart. Here's kind of a move up. We hit a high over here. We kind of come down over this range. We hit another high over here, and we come back down to the same range. If we're looking at this, could be possibly a little bit of a longer term consolidation range right there. You see it? Where are we at right now? Where are we getting that fractal? Now, I realize we're not just going straight up right now, but we did get our signal from the PSAR, and our fractal is of today. Now, one quick note, the day's not done yet, so we don't know what to get. It came past earnings, and sometimes stocks are fueled after earnings to go higher, question mark. They can, and it's very, very interesting. This is the key point I wanted to show you on this. The trend, longer term trend is up, intermediate consolidation, but look at this. That right there is perhaps a key support level. And we may, after earnings, sometimes stocks might be positioned to break out above that level. Could be something that somebody could be interested in, whether, whatever it is you might be looking at, for example, in your trades. All right, let's continue. All right, what else do we have? Here's our scan. BIIB. Oh, BIIB's been down for a while, though. But we are getting it off the bottom after earnings. Now, healthcare has been down for a while. I would say that it could be something else interesting that could, look at that. See that? You're getting your fractal, and there is your one dot right there. Got to get it within 2, and you just flipped right there. Now, I'm not seeing a ton there. I'm seeing lower lows and lower highs. This is definitely a wait and see, but it could be something of interest. It could be. I mean, we have to wait and see. Maybe, we see a long-term trend line break over here. This is going to be interesting to see on a weekly chart. Whoa. Wow, that's really been down for a while. So this could come into a key role here. But yeah, are there more indications of a reversal? Actually, on a monthly chart, you're getting this big hammer pattern down here. I want to throw that out there to you. Okay, that was one specifically I wanted to take a look at. Now, there are others in here. I want to take a look at FANG. Here's EA, though. That was EA. We looked at EA already as a possible pattern, flag pattern, right? Here's FANG. Okay, FANG towards the bottom. Notice also right towards earnings as well. We don't know what we're going to get. We do know that there are several companies that have dipped. Last time we got this fractal, I'm going to zoom in on it so you guys can see this really well. Right off the bottom, right? You get the fractal right there because notice you get the higher low, low, higher low, signal arrow. That's our fractal. Okay, right there. Right after that, what did we get? After the fractal, and it's only going to pick it up within a couple of days right there. It's going to have the fractal within a couple of days. You've got to see it. But that was the move to the upside. Even though prices were down, we still were able to reverse. Now, is that going to happen every time? No, but that was an interesting indication. It just so happens now we have a precedent for support over here. Be interesting, though, to get past earnings first and see what goes on, but maybe earnings can power this up or not. There is your fractal right there. Lower, but not that low right here. I'm going to clear this all off so you can see it. I want to make sure we're on the same page and we're painting these out very, very clearly. Low, there's your main low, higher low, fractal. Boom. Right after your fractal, we're 2 bars out right there. Okay. Could we see the exact same thing now that we have a precedence of support coming up here? You might not be a bottom player. You might be a top player. You might be waiting for a trend to go up. There are plenty of those within this group, okay, to look at. In fact, when we come over here and we look at the scan, if you're not getting enough here, you can go to the S&P 500. You're going to get not the same. You're going to get some overlap, but there's going to be a fairly large basket of stocks to kind of take a look at here too that have been moving. And by the way, those early indicators that I discussed with you, the percent ones over here, those can be added in as well, just to see how is it doing recently too. How's it been doing for the last month, the last 2 weeks, the last 1 week, using those percentage changes too. We could take a look at those. So there's a lot to look at here and a lot to kind of build on price action with indicators all in one. Okay. Not to mention what we talked about with price patterns. You're going to be able to see a couple of cool things out there as well. Now let's pull up the script right now so you've got it. I'm going to show you a couple of things too within it right before we share it over here. But here is our script. And it's just combining those concepts. As I mentioned, I have it listed up top. The PSAR in a long state and upward fractal is detected. Now, we went through this step by step, folks. You can check out this class if you want. Encourage you to take a look at this class if you want to on fractals, because we broke it down specifically. We went through the code step by step so you can understand. We went through the code of a stop and reverse. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this if you want to go ahead and look at those. That's just our playlist here for those two. But as we look at this, just as a highlight, wanted to show you all that you can go in here and you'll notice that our fractal, this is the coding for the fractal. We went through it step by step where the low has to be the lowest point. We've got some cool ways to set this up. But down here, this is really important too for timing. Okay, so, oh, forgot my CH. There we go. Check the condition right there down below, and you can see if it was in the last 2 days. Now we could add additional connections, but I'm just saying within the last two. So 1 day ago, 2 days ago, I like to keep it tight. Now you can see what we need to do here if we wanted to extend it to 3 or 4 or 5 days. But as it was noted actually in the chat, keeping this close is important because we're looking at that swing trade type of a time frame on a daily chart. Of course, this could be thrown onto a weekly chart as well, where you might be looking at a position type trade. Some traders, that might even fall into the category more of actually an investor could fit into that range, folks. But that is what I had for you today. I don't think we've combined prices with indicators to this extent before. In fact, I know we haven't. So it's going to be really fun to use this to look for, paper trades in this class and in some of my other classes as well. But I wanted to go ahead and just share that with you. And I will, let's see, let me just do this. Yeah. So we will share it and get this out. In fact, I can just share it through. It's a scan. Now I can create a column on it as well. Okay. But I'm going to share this scan query right there. And again, as we already noted, this is, but I did note though that, it's not guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy, but it'll give you some fun stuff to play with over the weekend. Now, having said all that, let me go ahead and just give you this script so you guys have got it. And let me put it in here. Well, there it is right there. All right, for those of you, joining us in the recorded session, what I'm going to do is actually, let's just do this. This is really helpful if I put it up here so everybody can see it. That is the code right up top here. So just take this code right there and actually, just right there. That would be the code. You can just take that code, copy that code, right-click copy. I'm just in a Word doc. Throw it over here, and into your setup, open shared item. Bam, you got it right there. Preview, open import, and you've got it right there. By the way, anytime you have a scan that comes up and you want to click on these very quickly, go over here to the right into that show actions item. You can save these watch lists over here right there. Just save the watch list, put the name in, boom. It's going to show up right over here under your custom watch lists, under your personal watch lists up top here. So you can click on it very quickly. I also actually have an action item in here as well that you guys could tap into. And let's say, for example, if I were to click on Pepsi, the chart's going to change over here for Pepsi right there. There is your fractal plus indications of a PSAR. Breaking right there. All right. We had one here, by the way, just as a quick note, talked about this last week, but been out a bit this week, but VZ had a good sort of inverted head and shoulders pattern. Shoulder, head, shoulder. We broke above it. That was your fractal right there. And that's what gave the indication. And I looked at it, I said, okay, because sometimes when you see these indications, you might get a reversal right there. On it. This company, by the way, it's got that inverted head and shoulders pattern, but it's still at a 6.2% dividend yield. Now, obviously, with the dividends are not guaranteed to last. Dividends can be cut at any time. But I thought I'd throw that out there for you. This is one that I could spot with that right there. It came through, but we saw bull flags and others with it. All right, everybody. Well, that's what I've got for you today. Thank you, James, for your help in the chat, folks. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Look forward to future discussions with you. And as always, let me know if you have any topic or question. You can always DM me at Mike Fairbourn CS as well, if in fact you are interested in doing so. All right, everybody, take care. Have a great rest of the day and a good weekend coming up.